Good day everyone. To our brilliant professor in EdD 707 Financial Management in Education, Dr. Ramon Porras Jr. I am Gilbert from the Division of Aklan. This day, I'll be presenting about sources of funds in education and uses of maintenance and other operating expenses or MOE in schools. I am asking for your indulgence in whatever the outcomes of this audiovisual presentation of mine. First, I will present the legal basis for school funding. Republic Act No. 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, an act enhancing the Philippine basic education system by strengthening its curriculum and increasing the number of years for basic education, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Under Section 2 of Republic Act No. 10533, Section 2 Declaration of Policy, the state shall establish, maintain, and support a complete, adequate, and integrated system of education relevant to the needs of the people, the country, and the society at large. It is also stated in the Republic Act No. 10533, Section 11, Appropriations. The Secretary of Education shall include in the department's program the operationalization of the Enhanced Basic Education Program, the initial funding of which shall be charged against the current appropriations of the DepEd. Thereafter, the amount necessary for the continued implementation of the Enhanced Basic Education Program shall be included in the Annual General Appropriations Act. Now let us move on to my first topic, which is the sources of fund in education. We all know that a fund is the blood of every organization to continue growing and going forward. Sources of fund in Philippine educations are national government, local government, parents and students, school owners, business and industry, loaning institution, philanthropist and civic cultural organization, and alumni support. Let me discuss first the national government. The 4.1 trillion proposed national budget for 2020, which is 12% higher than the 2019 3.662 trillion budget, will fund programs and projects that will continue the journey towards a more peaceful and progressive Philippines. It will continue to support our inclusive growth strategies aimed at accelerating investments in public infrastructures, improving anti-poverty programs, and intensifying employment generations. The 2020 national budget, the government identified its spending priorities, wherein 2020 national budget is focused on funding the first-year implementation of recent landmark legislations and priority programs and projects, which will ensure a strong-rooted, comfortable, and secure life ng tatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay for all Filipinos in the coming years. Taking a look on this picture of the 2020 proposed budget is 4.100 trillion pesos, wherein it is higher than the 2019 budget 3.662 trillion. In this picture, it states that the budget dimension by expense class, which includes personal services, MOOE, capital outlay, and financial expenses, while on budget dimension by sector includes social services, economic services, general public services, debt burden, and defense. There you can see the amount specified in this picture. This slide, it shows the 10 department which has the highest part in the 2020 National Budget proposal. First, we have the Department of Education, Department of Public Works and Highways, Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Social Welfare and Development, Department of National Defense, Department of Health, Department of Transportation, Department of Agriculture, the Judiciary, Department of Environment and Natural Resources. We can see that the Department of Education has the highest amount or part on the national budget, which has 673 billion pesos. Now, let's take a look on how the government identifies spending priorities for the 2020 national budget. But I will make focus on education. Education has 68.5 billion for state universities and colleges, 35.4 billion for universal access to quality tertiary education, 36 billion for basic education facilities, 31.2 billion for educational assistance and subsidies. Budget for education, it is clearly stated that the Philippine Constitution has the mandate that the government should allocate the highest proportion of budget to education. But sad to say, in reality check, the Philippines remains to have one of the lowest budget allocations to education among ASEAN nations or ASEAN countries. Let's move on to the sources of funds for education. Local government. Republic Act No. 7160, or an act providing for a local government code of 1991. Section 272, application of proceeds of the additional 1% SEF tax. The proceeds from the additional 1% tax on real property accruing to the Special Education Fund shall be automatically released to the local school boards, provided that, in case of provinces, the proceeds shall be divided equally between the provincial and municipal school boards, provided, however, that the proceeds shall be allocated for the operation and maintenance of public schools, constructions and repair of school buildings, facilities and equipment, educational research, purchase of books and periodicals, and support development as determined and approved by the local school board. Next are parents and students as sources of funds for education. According to Couton and Wicklund of 2001, parents play key roles as educational stakeholders. Parents' primary objective is the assurance that their children will receive a quality education, which will enable the children to lead productive, rewarding lives as adults in a global society. Parents are very important stakeholders to the educational decision-making process. As suggested by ESEX 2005, many parents' decisions on educational issues are significantly influenced by their values and beliefs rather than school law. Although the student's primary role is that of a recipient, students should be encouraged to exercise the decision-making role in the education process. By giving aid to the decision-making process, students become an integral part of a successful institution. Empowering students with shared decision-making increases their choices and responsibilities for their own learning. That was according to Short and Greer of 2002. The public schools is subsidized by national government as provided on the Republic Act 9155 or the Governance of Education Act of of 2001 and Republic Act 6655 or the Free Public Secondary Act of 1998. However, the government support is inadequate. The parents is willing to provide additional support through the General PTA and Homeroom PTA on a voluntary basis. Based on the 2017 Annual Poverty Indicator Survey or the APIS, about 9% of the estimated 39.2 million Filipinos aged 6 to 24 years old were out of school children and youth. OSCY refers to family members 6 to 14 years old who are not attending formal school and family members 15 to 24 years old who are currently out of school, not gainfully employed, and have not finished college or post-secondary education. The most common reason among OSCYs for not attending school were marriage or family matters for about 37%, lack of personal interest 24.7%, and high cost of education or financial concern, which is 17.9%. Among females out of school youth, marriage or family matters 57% was the main reason for not attending school, while lack of personal interest among males, which is 43.8%. Now let us move on to the fourth sources of funds for education. School owners. School owners contribute a starting capital for education. But then there is a battle cry, or teachers' cry. Private school owners and teachers have cried out to the government for help, as their means of livelihood is being seriously threatened by the ravaging coronavirus pandemic. And industry as sources of funds for education. They support education because they want to have highly qualified manpower for the greater benefit of the business enterprise they are managing. Final results of the 2010 Annual Survey of the Philippine Business and Industry, or the ASPBI, conducted nationwide covered a total of 9,949 establishments engaged in private education. Secondary or higher education garnered 42.6%, higher education with 34.9%, primary or elementary education with 13.0%, pre-primary or preschool education with 3.6%, and other education and educational support services with 5.9%, with a total establishment of 3,734 establishments. Loan grants and donation from stakeholders are a big help for every school to succeed in every programs and projects for the best and good of their pupils and students. The followings are Social Security System, the World Bank, Australian Aid, Asian Development Bank, and Japan International Cooperation Agency. These are only examples of loan grants and donations from the different entities or companies. Alumni also is one of the sources of funds for education. Alumni are interested on the continued support of their alma mater. Pride and sentiments usually result to demonstrate love on their institution. Alumni can be an institution's most loyal supporters. Alumni are fundraising prospects. Alumni can be great role models for current students and often well placed to offer practical support to students as they start their careers. Your alumni or our alumni are our international ambassadors that take their knowledge of your institution to their hometowns and countries and into their professional and social networks. The last sources of funds for education which I'll be discussing is the philanthropist and civic cultural organizations, which includes the different organizations like Rotary International, the Philippine Business for Social Progress, Lions International, and the Kiwanis International. At this point, I'll be talking about the uses of school maintenance and other operating expenses for schools. The Department of Education releases its EdD Order No. 8 Series of 2019, or the revised guidelines on the direct release, use, monitoring, and reporting of maintenance and other operating expenses allocation of schools, including other funds managed by schools, which will be used as a guide of our school heads in different public institutions and schools under the DepEd. Uses of school MOOE as defined under the definition of terms per section 4.4 of DepEd Order No. 8 Series 2019 shall also be used for the following, among others subject to availability of funds and prioritization of mandatory expense items, and must be in accordance with existing budgeting, accounting, procurement, and auditing rules and regulations. The purpose of school MOOE is to fund activities as identified in the Approved School Improvement Plan or SIP for implementation in the current year and as specifically determined in the Annual Implementation Plan or AIP, which shall follow the calendar year format of the school. Second, to finance expenses pertaining to graduation rites, moving up or closing ceremonies and recognition activities. 3. To fund supplies, rental and minor repair of tools and equipment and other consumable for teachers and students deemed necessary in the conduct of classes and learning activities. Fourth is to fund minor repairs of facilities, building and grounds, maintenance necessary for the upkeep of the school, as defined in DepEd Order No. 1 Series of 2017, entitled Guidelines on the National Inventory of DepEd Public School Buildings for School Year 2016-2017. Fifth, to procure semi-expendable property items worth less than 15,000 pesos, including technical, vocational livelihood, and science classes consumables, as provided in the Government Accounting Manual or GAM, issued by the Commission on Audit. And 6. In no case shall the school MOOE be used for the procurement of school seats and teachers' tables and chairs, except for school furniture which are not procured provided by the central, regional, or school division offices. This may include laboratory and workshop furniture, B. Textbooks, and C. Other supplementary learning resources which include publication, periodicals, and review materials. Before my report ends, let me share to you the quotes from the late Secretary Jesser Bredo. Transparency plus integrity plus fairness is equal to trust. The most important role of a leader is to set a clear direction, be transparent about how to get there, and to stay the course. By Irene Rosenfeld Mondele. Thank you for listening.